Chosen one, this is not advice. This is a direct message from heaven sent to you right now. I know you've spent many nights lying awake, worrying about money, bills, health, and the future. You've carried too much, and the harder you worked, the emptier you felt inside. But today, mark these words. Stop worrying. Stop carrying the weight alone. The moment you hear this is no accident. This is the sign you've been praying for. From this day on, God will begin to fund your life in ways you never imagined. Doors will open, the right people will appear, and a peace beyond all logic will fill your soul. Type the number 777 in the comments right now to confirm your faith. I am already funded by heaven. And if you want to keep receiving divine instructions as they continue to flow into your life, hit subscribe. Because this journey is not ending. It is only just beginning. Now stay with me, because in the next few moments, I will show you exactly why your hustle alone will never be enough, and how God's economy is already at work in your life. This is the shift you've been waiting for. God's funding versus human striving. Why your hustle alone isn't enough. Chosen one. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever laid in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, running numbers in your head, wondering how on earth you're going to cover the bills? Have you ever felt the weight of responsibility so heavy that even when you sleep, your mind doesn't rest? If that's you, you're not alone. I know many of you watching right now have worked harder than ever before. Yet somehow, it feels like the more you hustle, the less progress you see. See, in our culture, we've been taught a simple equation. Work more hours, plus take on more responsibility, and success. That sounds right, doesn't it? But the truth is, the harder many of us push, the more exhausted we become. And still, that deep sense of lack lingers. Let me paint a picture. Think of the single mom in Ohio, juggling 2 or 3 jobs, barely having time to sit down with her kids at dinner. She works herself to the bone, but every month feels like she's running in circles, tired, drained, stuck. Or the retired man in Florida who saved for decades, only to realize his pension and Social Security barely stretch far enough to cover medical bills. He lies awake, asking himself, did I do something wrong? Why does it feel like I worked all my life, but I'm still not secure? Chosen one, maybe you see yourself in these stories. Maybe your hustle has left you more anxious than assured. And here's the truth. Human striving, by itself, was never designed to be enough. Because when we put our full trust in companies, in government systems, in even the people around us, we're leaning on something fragile, something that can break at any moment. That's why some of you feel this constant pressure, because you've been trying to carry a weight that was never meant to rest on your shoulders alone. And here's where God's economy steps in. In heaven's system, blessing is not measured by the hours on your timesheet, the balance in your bank account, or the approval of others. It flows from a source that never runs dry. It comes from a provider who does not get laid off, does not retire, and does not break his promises. The mistake many of us make is thinking prayer is secondary, that action alone is what moves the needle. But that belief only drives us into imbalance, chasing outcomes in our own strength while neglecting the truth that every good gift ultimately comes from above. Let me share a small but powerful lesson. Your value was never meant to be proven by exhaustion. You don't need to collapse from overwork just to prove you're worthy. God doesn't measure your worth by how tired you are at the end of the day. He measures it by your willingness to trust Him, to surrender control, and to believe He is already moving on your behalf. Think about it. When was the last time you paused in the middle of chaos and said, Lord, I release this to you? Sometimes the breakthrough you've been hustling for doesn't come from working another shift, but from shifting your faith. So here's the lesson, chosen one. Human strength will always run out, but heaven's supply never does. And when you stop grinding just to survive and start trusting in God's funding, you step into a flow where provision, peace, and purpose align in ways you could never manufacture on your own. And now comes the big question. If God truly funds your life, how can you recognize it? What does it look like when His economy starts showing up in your everyday reality? Stay with me, because in the next part, I'll walk you through the real signs that you are already being funded by heaven, even if you haven't noticed them yet. What divine funding looks like in real life. Signs you're already in God's economy. Chosen one, maybe you've asked yourself this question. If God is really funding my life, where's the evidence? How do I know I'm already inside His economy? Let me paint it clearly for you. A lot of people think heavenly funding means a big check suddenly showing up in their mailbox or money falling out of nowhere. But the truth is, God's provision is often more subtle, more personal. And if you're not paying attention, you might miss it. Here are some of the most powerful signs that God is already funding you. 1. Unexpected provision. That bill you thought you could never pay. Suddenly it got reduced, waived, or someone stepped in to help. That's not just luck. That's God leaving His fingerprints on your life. 2. The right people at the right time. Maybe you randomly meet a stranger who later becomes a friend, a mentor, or the exact person who helps you take your next step. That's not coincidence. That's divine timing. 3. Peace beyond logic. Even though your finances haven't fully changed yet, and maybe the numbers still look scary, deep down, you feel a peace that doesn't make sense. That calm doesn't come from the bank. It comes from knowing you are never abandoned. 4. Opportunities reborn. A door that once slammed shut suddenly opens again. Or maybe a brand new path appears, one you never thought of before. That's also funding. Not always money, but direction. Let me give you a couple real-life examples. Tyler Perry, before he became famous, was homeless, sleeping in his car. Nobody believed in him. But with just small plays, God opened doors step by step until he built the largest film studio in America. That's divine funding, not only in money, but in vision, connections, and opportunities. Or a young couple in Texas. They almost lost their family farm to debt, but they held on in faith. Then one day, the chance came to buy back the same land for a much lower price. No one could have scripted that except God Himself. And maybe, if you look back on your own life, you'll realize you've already had funding moments too. But here's where people often make mistakes. First, they only expect money and miss the other blessings: health, relationships, fresh opportunities. Second, they compare themselves to others, thinking, why am I not getting funded like them? But chosen one, God's funding is never one size fits all. It's always custom made for you and always right on time. So what's the lesson here? God's funding is not just a number in your bank account. It's the assurance that you will never be left behind. His provision always exceeds what you asked for, and it arrives exactly when you need it most. And here's what I want you to do, starting today. Begin writing down every single time you notice God funding your life. Every unexpected help, every open door, every moment of peace. And when you see it, say thank you immediately. Because gratitude is the key that keeps heaven's treasury flowing into your life. Chosen one, you are already funded. Believe that. Chosen one, now you've seen the truth. You don't have to hustle yourself into the ground, carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You don't have to figure out every detail of tomorrow or live in fear of bills, sickness, or what people might take away from you. Because the moment you chose faith over fear, heaven's funding already began. And here's the beautiful part. It's not just about money. It's about protection. It's about timing. It's about peace. It's about doors you didn't even know existed, swinging open right when you need them. But for this to keep flowing, you must do your part. And your part is simple. Stay awake to the signs, stay thankful, and stay connected. So here's what I invite you to do right now. Type the word Amen in the comments, not just as a word, but as a declaration. By writing it, you're saying, I am already funded by heaven. I am already provided for. I will not be left behind. Let this be your sacred confirmation. And if this message touched you, if it spoke to that deep part of you that's been waiting for a sign, then don't leave yet. Hit subscribe right now, because the journey isn't over. The guidance will keep coming. And each video is another piece of the divine roadmap, tailor-made for you. Chosen one. Heaven has already started moving in your life. Don't walk away from it. Step in fully. Believe it, claim it, live it, because this is only the beginning.